Hi, my name is Nanette Wang. I have the privilege of being the Community Board Chair for South Vancouver Neighbourhood House. And a huge welcome to all of you. And on behalf of the entire team, we are very glad that you are all here. I happen to be stepping in this evening for Mimi Rennie, our Executive Director, who sends her sincere regrets that she's not able to be here tonight, but she's at a very happy event celebrating her mother-in-law's 80th birthday. I would like to begin with our land acknowledgement. We humbly acknowledge that we are meeting tonight on the unceded, occupied, ancestral and traditional homelands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We recognize the vast cultural diversity of the Indigenous people and acknowledge the diversity of their opinions, representation, needs, and desires. So where are you, and what is the area that we serve? South Vancouver is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to serving residents of South Vancouver. SVNH's service area spans from Main Street to Boundary Road, and from 41st to Fraser River. This area includes the 3 federal ridings of Vancouver Fraserview-South Burnaby, Vancouver Kingsway, and Vancouver Granville. SVNH is one of the only settlement agencies serving this very large catchment of South Vancouver. I would like to invite Lisa Batista, the Director of Neighborhood Equity and Employment Programs at SVNH, to introduce the invaluable work of the Reframing South Vancouver initiative, including being the organizer of this event with her amazing team.
Thank you, everyone. My amazing team over there is Pravi, Diol, Mara Cortez, and Cherry Wong over there. So, yeah. So I would just like to talk a little bit about the Reframing South Vancouver initiative, which is South Van's SVNH response to the structural and service inequities here in South Vancouver. So South Vancouver is a culturally, linguistically, and racially diverse neighborhood. We have lots of vulnerable population, including visible minorities, immigrants, youth, seniors, and more. According to Statistics Canada, South Vancouver has 80% residents identifying as visible minorities, making it one of the most racialized areas of Vancouver. 53% residents identifying as immigrants, and with highest population of non-English first language. It has the higher average household size, lower median personal income, and 20% of Vancouver's child population, and 18% of Vancouver's seniors. So with that, the highly racialized and immigrant population, a lot of residents do not know how to advocate or engage with the systems here. That's why SVNH launched the initiative called Reframing South Vancouver 4 years ago. And that is to elevate the community voices and address the historic inequities in the South Van neighborhoods. In this process, we have engaged over 4,000 residents the last, almost 4 years. Built relationships with City of Vancouver staff, mayor and council, MLAs, MPs, federal funders, academic partners such as SFU, UBC, Lingara, and community partners including Vancouver Public Libraries, community centers in South Vancouver Family Place, the BIAs here. We have worked with a lot of the planners from the city. And in 2023, we successfully got council to pass a motion that would allocate more funding and resources to South Vancouver. So that was quite a win. Woohoo! That's really a hoo-hoo. So to promote civic literacy and voting in the upcoming federal election, we decided to organize this all candidates meeting. We hope to demystify voting and understanding party platforms for our residents and bring you closer to the citizens that you are going to be serving. We hope to continue being the conduit between South Van residents, community partners, and decision makers. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa, and to you and your team for all that you do in finding that information and continue to find out more about our communities. Oh my gosh, okay. So I would like to introduce now our moderator for tonight, Jonathan Hayes. Jonathan Hayes is a multidisciplinary strategist, convener, and communicator, dedicated to transforming challenges into opportunities for community impact. As founder and principal strategist of Plumage Capital, he strengthens community-based organizations and networks by aligning mission, relationships, and resources to drive lasting change. With expertise in strategy development, capacity building, and participatory convening, he helps organizations scale their impact and unlock new sources of value. Jonathan has worked across philanthropy, social impact, and community development, including roles with the BHH Foundation and Lift Impact Partners, where he guided investment readiness, partnership development, and catalyzed investments in Indigenous-led initiatives. He has also served in governance leadership roles, including here as the chair of the board of SVNH, advocating for equitable food security and community investment. Jonathan believes that when we create spaces for courageous, respectful dialogue that bridges perspectives and surfaces insights, we can move conversations toward bold and meaningful action. Thank you, Jonathan, for being tonight's moderator.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you can hear me well. And good evening, candidates, for putting yourselves forward, for being bold and brave and having the courage to step forward in times like these. So really want to thank you for coming to the table today. I want to thank all of you here gathered as residents, as community members, for exercising your right to democracy, the right to vote, but the right to gather and listen and learn and engage in a respectful way. I also want to thank South Vancouver Neighbourhood House, the entire team, and this house. We are on their territory right now as well, and their house rules apply to how we engage respectfully tonight. So I just want to quickly review the statement of purpose. From South Vancouver Neighbourhood House, just to remind us how we come together tonight for each of and every single one of us. Our belief is that we are all good people, which starts with building trust among all people in our community. Every person is always welcome. Your uniqueness is celebrated at SVNH. If a person's behavior is harmful, abusive, or disrespectful to another, staff will ask the person to stop the behavior and may ask them to leave. It is everyone's responsibility to create a welcoming and respectful environment. Okay, so with that in mind, I want to introduce you to all the candidates who have come out tonight. Hope you can hear me. Here we go. Okay, so I want to thank the candidates who have who have stepped forward tonight. For Vancouver Kingsway, we have Amy Gill, representing the Liberal Party of Canada. We have Fiona Wang from the People's Party of Canada, and we have Imtiaz Popat from the Green Party of Canada. Those three are representing Vancouver Kingsway. For Vancouver Granville, we will have Jerry Kroll from the Green Party and Sukhi Sahota from the NDP. For Vancouver Fraserview-South Burnaby, we have Alexander Dow from the Greens, Bong from the from the People's Party of Canada, Gregor Robertson from the Liberal Party of Canada, and Manoj Bhangu from the NDP. Want to acknowledge that candidates Avi Nayyar from the Conservative Party of Canada, Don Davies from the NDP, Marie Rogers from the Conservative Party of Canada, Ravinder Bhatia from the Conservative Party of Canada, and Taleeb Noormohamed from the Liberal Party of Canada, unfortunately, cannot join us tonight. I just want to remind you again a little bit of how we engage tonight to make sure tonight's event runs smoothly and all candidates can have equitable opportunities to speak. We have some community guidelines. As a neighborhood house, we represent all ages and welcome everyone. We aim to create a safe and welcoming space for everybody. Tonight is an opportunity for us to get to know the candidates, and we ask everybody to be respectful. When you registered for this evening's town hall, you submitted your questions to the candidates via the Eventbrite platform. We have consolidated these questions and arranged them by the following themes: affordability, transportation, immigration and belonging, arts and culture, truth and reconciliation, the environment, and global affairs. If you have any more questions and concerns, aside from the ones that have been fielded through the Eventbrite platform, and beyond the ones I will be asking on your behalf, please feel free to stay behind and connect with the candidates. And here's the candidates' information. Take that all in as you will. We could get some cameras going there. It takes a team effort to get this going, and so I also want to acknowledge Jennifer Gray Grant, who is sitting in the front row, who will serve as our timekeeper for this evening. Jennifer is over there. Invaluable to this process. So this first part is going to be each of the candidates will be providing their elevator pitch to all of you. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves. The order has been determined by a draw. Jennifer here, as I mentioned, is our timekeeper. She will wave a yellow card when you have 30 seconds remaining. This is for the candidates. And a red card when your time is up. And the order of candidates in terms of speaking, where each candidate has 1 minute to introduce themselves. We will begin with Sukhi Sahota from the NDP.
First of all, I'd like to welcome you all here. I think this is a very important function of democracy. Don't you agree? My name is Sukhi Sahota, and I'm the NDP candidate for Vancouver Granville. As you might have noticed, I'm not originally from Canada. I'm from the UK originally, but I have also lived in many other countries, Hong Kong being one of them. I have actually been in Canada for around 7 years now, and I was raised in a single-parent family with a brother who had cerebral palsy and a sister who had learning difficulties. So I know very much and I appreciate what a social safety net means because I grew up in that hardship. So that is one reason why I'm running, to protect those services for everyday Canadians like you and me. Thank you.
And next up we have Desiderio. Please.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is a little long, Desiderio Magtanggol Reyes, but I go by Bon. Okay. I've been in Canada. I came to Canada in 1996 as an independent immigrant. And I came originally from the Philippines. My father was a U.S. was recognized as a U.S. veteran. My mother was a teacher in elementary. And I have 4 siblings. They're all U.S. citizens. I'm the only one here in Canada. And the reason why I'm here right now is during the COVID-19, the Truckers' Freedom Convoy, I joined People's Party of Canada, and now I'm here running under People's Party of Canada.
Your time is up. Your time is up. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yep. Red. Thank you.
That's good enough.
Thank you. All right. We'll pass it over to Fiona. Thank you so much, Fiona.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Fiona Wang, and I'm running with the People's Party of Canada in Vancouver Kingsway for this upcoming federal election. And I'm running because I believe Canadians are ready for real change, not empty promises and recycled policies. With the People's Party of Canada, we will fight for free speech, your freedom of choice. We will fight for your prosperity, which means lower taxes, less inflation, and better job opportunities. We will fight for your freedom. Vancouver Kingsway is vibrant and deserves a voice that doesn't whisper, and I'm ready to be that voice. We don't answer to lobbyists or elites. We answer to the people. And that's what makes the People's Party so different. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Next up, Amy Gill from the Liberal Party of Canada.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Gill. I am a second-generation immigrant. I'm a proud daughter of immigrants. I am a CPA by trade. I have over 17 years of experience. I've worked as a CFO in the private sector, most recently in the not-for-profit sector. I have a lot of experience in housing. I've worked for organizations focused on affordable housing, social housing, regular middle-class housing, and developments. I'm running because I feel like I have a great deal of experience and a really strong skill set that I could probably do a lot more and have a much greater impact in a role like this. So I put my name forward. It's not something that I'm really as comfortable doing. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been at the boardroom quite often. This is my first time I've ever done a debate, so I may be a bit rusty. But I think that Canada is facing a lot of challenges and threats, and we need a strong leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Jerry Kroll from the Green Party.
Thanks very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Jerry Kroll, your Green Party candidate for Vancouver Granville. My background is I'm the founder of an electric car company. Not that one. My platform is affordable food, affordable housing, and affordable and accessible healthcare. But above all that, the phrase you should remember is environmental literacy. We're all being challenged by all this tariff craziness, and the government's reaction is to increase pipelines, coal, things that will come and go. What we need to do is to keep the environment in check right now. We need more Green Party candidates in Ottawa. Thank you.
And also for the Greens, Imtiaz Popat, please, is up next.
Hi, how are you? My name is Imtiaz Popat. I'm your choice for Vancouver Kingsway. How many people live in Vancouver Kingsway? Okay, so we've got a few people. Why am I running in this election? Because we have a global crisis going on. It's a climate crisis, and it's not Donald Trump, right? So we have to remember that when there's an attack on this country is first and foremost Indigenous. We have unfinished business with Indigenous people. Even Greenland is Inuit. So we have to remember we have a lot of work to do. And the message for the Green Party is sustainability, which is interconnected to many other issues, which I'll be happy to talk about later today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, Manoj Bhangu from the NDP.
Hello everyone, my name is Manoj Bhangu. I'm a candidate of Vancouver Fraserview-South Burnaby riding. I'm living in this city almost 25 years old. As I belong to the middle class family, I know the real issues and challenges they are facing right now. I must say that this riding, because the middle class family, I have been working in this community as a nominated candidate for over a year and a half. And I believe in the politics should be for the peoples, not for the corporate big corporations and the wealthy views. I'm fighting for the housing affordability, climate change, universal pharmacare, and real reconciliation for the indigenous people. If I get elected as a member of parliament, I will make sure I will bring the affordable homes and
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you. Time's up. Okay, next up we'll have Alexander Dow from the Green Party.
Test. Oh, okay. Start now. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander Dow. I was born in Montreal, raised in Halifax, schooled in Halifax, and I've moved out to Vancouver in about '93. I joined the Georgia Straight newspaper for about 25 years. That brought me everything to know about Vancouver. I was with the Board of Trade for 20 years, one of the ambassadors. On top of that, I've also have a child. She is just finishing her first year of CAP University over in North Vancouver. Throughout her public school education, I was with her almost the whole time. Spent 10 years with the what would be known as the PTA, the parent teachers, and I was also on the district. I did the calendar, did some of the school names, including having all the schools. I'll let you go with that.
Thank you, Alexander. Appreciate it. Okay. Gregor Robertson, Liberal Party.
Thank you, and big thanks to Vancouver South Van Neighbourhood House for hosting the whole team. I'm Gregor Robertson. You probably know me from my time here as Mayor of Vancouver. Born and raised in Vancouver and was an MLA prior to being mayor. Did 3 terms as mayor, and I'm running for Vancouver Fraserview-South Burnaby to bring a really strong voice for our community here. I know what our city needs. I know what our province needs. And I want to be that voice in Ottawa. I'm a really strong supporter of our new leader, Mark Carney, and the experience he brings on the global stage, and the importance the role he's playing, pushing back on Donald Trump. I do think it's right now a really critical threat to our country, and we've got to pull together as one country, strong Team Canada, under that leadership, and focus at a community level in investing and taking care of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. When we sent the invitation to all the candidates, we also invited them to submit a self-introduction if they cannot attend in person. Vancouver Granville candidate Taleeb Noormohamed has submitted a video. Let's watch it now.
Hi, South Van. My name is Taleeb Noormohamed, and I am running to be re-elected as the Member of Parliament for Vancouver Granville. I'm really sorry that I can't join you today. We just welcomed the new baby boy to our family, so for the next couple of days, I'm taking some time off the campaign. You know, one of my first memories of South Van is of being picked up by my grandpa from the Sunset Rink after hockey and walking down Main Street, where I was amazed by just how diversity and ambition came together to deliver incredible results for our communities. It's that same memory that motivated me 4 years ago to put my name on the ballot. I wanted to fight for ambitious initiatives that would deliver concrete results for our neighborhoods. All of you know South Van is a pillar of our society which brings much needed positive change. It represents the best of our country. From delivering over $10 million of federal funding for Sunset Senior Center to securing over $1.4 billion for our community over the past 4 years, I've been proud to be a part of a Liberal team that has achieved so much. But our work isn't done yet, because despite all of this worth, South Van is still one of the most underserved parts of Vancouver. You deserve a partner and a champion that will deliver for you.
Okay, we're good. Thanks, Jerry. You wanted your guitar too? Yeah. Well, you got some music anyway, so all right. Little fun and games there. Okay, thanks so much, everyone. Now we're going to turn to the questions. The questions submitted by you, the residents here, the community members. Really want to thank you again for submitting some very crucial questions that are near and dear to you. And we will be asking the candidates tonight these important questions. So each party candidate has 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Candidates, please decide with your party members who to answer the question or split the time among yourselves. So this is for each party. So I'll say that again, just in case. Each party has 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Candidates, please decide with your party members who to answer the question or to split the time among yourselves. We got different strengths? Yes. Okay, we will start laying out the questions, don't you worry. So for the first question, we're going to start in reverse order of the opening speech. So we'll start with Gregor Robertson on this question. The first theme that we're going to be covering tonight is about affordability. Will your party commit to continuing and expanding the Canadian Dental Care Plan and the Universal Pharmacare Program?
You want to? Are we okay standing? You prefer us standing when we do this? Okay,
go ahead.
The answer is yes. I mean, it was brought in under the Liberal government that has been in office these last term. So dental and pharmacare are covered here in Canada up to a certain point, and that is the goal now is to expand that care. And there have been announcements about providing more affordability for, particularly for middle class, a tax cut for middle class Canadians that is coming into play. There is a savings of GST for new home buyers, homes up to $1 million. That saves about $50,000 on the purchase of a new home. For people buying a home for the first time. So there's already a set of these affordability initiatives that have been announced to extend the care and support that's already there in terms of dental and pharmacare, as well as focusing on housing affordability. The big piece on housing affordability is also dramatically scaling up the construction of homes in Canada, doubling the pace of construction of homes, something that we called for in our city for many years. The federal government will go back into the business of building homes, which hasn't happened for 30 years. And that's a Build Canada Homes initiative that will focus on using federal land and really making sure we can build more affordable, more social, supportive housing across Canada.
Okay, thank you, Gregor. Next, we'll move over to the Green Party.
Well, one of the main things that the Green Party believes is in sustainability, and one of our major planks is guaranteed livable income. That means everybody should have a basic income that everybody can afford. As I said earlier, sustainability means everything is connected, means affordability, and we need to expand the notion of what is medical care, including alternative medicine, all kinds of medicine, dental care. Everything should be part of this whole area of sustainability, so everybody can afford medicine, rent, everything else. So of course we support that. Thank you very much. Do you want anything?
No, we just wanted to add that the income for the Green Party, we have a platform. The first $40,000 you make, you will not receive any federal income tax on that. So the first $40,000, and we stand by that. We appreciate everybody that does work, does their taxes. And is there anything else? No, I think we're done. Oh, go ahead. 20 seconds.
The Green Party just announced its health policy yesterday, and mental health was also going to be covered under their program, their platform, our platform.
Thank you. Okay, now we move on to the NDP to respond to the question.
Just want to remind everyone that the Liberal Party of Canada has been in power for how many years? If I remember, Mark Carney said he won't expand pharmacare. Yeah. So just want to make sure we have that clarification here. It was the New Democrats. It was the time of Tommy Douglas that instituted and made these social reforms such as free healthcare, universal healthcare. And we, the NDP, will continue. We will continue to increase access for all people, for everyday Canadians to have access to all medication, regardless of where you are in this country. Another reminder, we've had a government that's been in power for how many years? How many houses have we built in that time? Enough for your community? I don't believe so. We, the NDP, have already also made a promise that we will build 3 million homes. And we're talking about homes that won't be going to investors or speculators, but to you. Yes, to people like you and me. Because I'll be honest with you now, I'm still renting. I can't afford a place here. I can't even afford to move out and go into a bigger place to rent. So I will really be looking forward to having a place I can afford.
Thank you, Sukhi. Thank you very much. And we will now conclude with the People's Party of Canada. Bong.
I attend church in downtown Vancouver. It's a Potter's Place, and I met a guy in the church. He was complaining about toothache. I wish I had the chance to help him, but I could not. So this program has to be expanded to anybody who needs.
Okay. Thank you, Bong.
So the People's Party also believe in we want to set up a mixed private public universal system, like what we do in other developed countries. We want to establish temporary programs to assist poor provinces. We're actually the only developed country where the government has a monopoly on medically required care. And of course, you can't really talk about healthcare without talking about the economy. We believe in a free market economy where hard work is rewarded. And taxpayers keep more of their taxpayers' money. We reject endless government spending, high taxes, and inefficient bureaucracy.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you. For the second question, the Green Party will be the first to answer, then the NDP, then the People's Party of Canada, and then the Liberals. And for this one, the federal government in Canada, through agreements with provinces like British Columbia, plays a key role in housing by providing funding and resources to support the development and maintenance of affordable housing, particularly for low-income individuals and families as part of the National Housing Strategy. To increase affordable homes, how do you make sure that rent is capped at 30% of income?
That's an easy one. No, it is serious, and that's again one of my platforms in Vancouver Granville, along with affordable food, which is ridiculous, not being able to find a doctor, affordable rent, affordable housing in general is important, and that is one of the platforms of the Green Party. Capping it at 30%. It's a supply and demand issue, so providing more housing for the people that need it. I'm also a big advocate of looking outside of areas that we're typically looking at into other areas. And again, as a son of an immigrant family from Europe here, second generation, my parents had to leave Europe. They could not afford to buy or rent homes, so they had to travel over in 1960 and bought a very small property in Coquitlam and did quite well with that from 1960 till now. So looking outside of the greater Vancouver area to some of the really valuable, lovely areas of British Columbia. I've been to Prince Rupert as well too. There's lots of opportunities there, but making sure that where we are here is capped as well.
Thank you, Jerry. We'll hand that over now to the NDP.
Again, just a reminder that we do propose to build 3 million new homes for everyday Canadians like you and me. There is certainly many different factors at play when it comes to the housing market. And going back to the question of trying to attain to a 30% target for people's income is certainly something that should be top of mind for all politicians. And like I said, going back to the many aspects that are involved, we need to consider everything from a municipal, provincial, and federal level. We need to consider zoning requirements, whether that needs changing, but obviously that's more on a municipal level. We need to definitely end the harmful cycle of speculation. That's certainly something that needs to be done. And then thirdly, I want to make sure that any Crown land that we have in Canada is built for social housing only. And coming from the UK, something that we have done as well, and we still do, is we need to implement what we call shared ownership. So if you have 50,000 or you have 100,000, put that in as a deposit, and that will be a percentage of whatever the price is for that building, for that house of yours, and then the remaining amount you will pay pro rata in rent. And then as you continue to have more and more money saved up, you can again put another $25,000, another $50,000 in, and again, you will continue to reduce that rent.
Thank you, Sukhi. We'll pass this now over to the People's Party of Canada.
One of my favorite TV shows is Mad Men. I don't know if you know that TV show, but watching that TV show just reminds me of how certain aspects, right, were better back then. Like in the 60s, you have one parent that goes to work and you have a house and you have a car, right, which is not the reality today. Now you have both parents working sometimes 2-3 jobs, right, and they still can't afford a house in Vancouver, and that is the reality that we're living in. We've been talking about this issue for a very long time, and it seems like there's nothing being done on this issue. So with the People's Party of Canada, we will modify the Bank of Canada's inflation target from 2% to 0%. This will cool down inflation in all sectors, including housing. Of course, you can't really talk about housing without talking immigration, because the two topics are tied together. The People's Party is not anti-immigrant. We're both immigrants, right? But of course, immigration has to be at a level that is sustainable, and we want to prioritize Canadians and Canadian values. Mass immigration level has also made it difficult for people to find housing, right? For the people that's already living here, and I think that has been an issue for many people, and maybe people are afraid to speak up on that issue, right? So the People's Party, we're not afraid to speak up for these hard issues, and we're not afraid to look for a solution together.
Thank you, Fiona. And finally, to the Liberals.
Sorry about that. On housing affordability, as I mentioned, the Build Canada Homes initiative was announced last week by Mark Carney, and that is a new federal agency that will build homes. So CMHC has been in charge of all this for the last 30 years and not building homes, just focused on mortgages and the finance side of it. This is bringing the government of Canada back to the table, and not only to build 500,000 homes a year across the country, but also in focusing our work on the provinces, territories, and communities, the cities around the country, to be basically one path to develop affordable housing and to make sure that we're all working together, all levels of government. It's the same Team Canada approach that we're taking dealing with Trump and the US right now. We need to take that approach with the Canadian economy, bring down the barriers between the provinces that we've had up for all time, and really focus on how we get more housing built faster and more affordably, how we make sure that rent control is consistent across the country rather than varying by province. We need to make sure that that 30% is what the limit is for people. That's considered best practice really around the world in terms of percentage of income going to housing. We have to be focused on a big goal like that, and addressing it with that supply first and foremost.
Thank you, Gregor. Okay, so in the essence of time, there's so many questions that have come through, so I apologize, but we're going to move on to another theme now. Transportation. Transportation is a huge concern for South Vancouver residents. While the municipal and provincial governments are mainly the ones supporting transit development, what role would you like to see the federal government play in advocating for transit investment specifically in South Vancouver? And we're going to start with the Liberals on that response.
Starting down here.
Okay, back to you.
So on transportation, that obviously was something we worked a lot on here as a city. And I would say transportation and housing were incredibly difficult to work with conservative governments. We dealt with the Harper government for most of my years in office at City Hall. They were all but impossible to get support for Vancouver on housing or transportation. We did make some progress with the Trudeau government when they came in 2015. We ended up getting support from the Horgan government provincially, and that enabled all the transit investment that's rolling out right now across Metro Vancouver. Not a lot of that is in South Van, which is part of the reason I'm running, is because I couldn't see the impact reaching into South Van. Most of the investment on transportation in particular was focused farther north in the east and west of the city. South Van needs more investment. We got a little bit with 49th with the B line down here, but we need to be more focused on transportation. The River District is a challenging spot to get in and out of, and at the bottom of the hill there. And I think there's some really interesting solutions that could be delivered there. And we need the federal government at the table for this. Again, it's being able to bring the voice of a city and know how the city and the province work and be in Ottawa to land that support. And that's what I'm really focused on delivering for this community.
Thank you. And now we'll turn to the Green Party to respond.
This one really is easy. Oh, sorry. You okay? Good. How many people drove here today? And how many people took transit or walked? Bike. Yeah, or biked. Yeah, sure. Non-car. So this is really a passion of mine. They've just introduced congestion fees in New York, as well as many other cities. Cars are driving on the road for free, and people are paying $10 and $20 to ride transit. That seems a little bit backwards. I'm all for congestion fees for vehicles. Using the road, you pay a fee if you're driving the car. That money goes 100% to make transit free for people who are coming into wherever they need to go. Free transit for everybody, cars pay on the road. That's as simple as it can be.
Also, I have to remind you that the federal government has not committed to funding for TransLink, and there's going to be major cuts to all over TransLink. So you can talk all you want, but there's no money at the table. Also, this country was built on railway. We have no high-speed railway in this country. The Liberals have committed to high-speed railway in Eastern Canada, but not Western Canada. There's a proposal of high-speed train coming from Portland to Vancouver. I would advocate that we should expand that across the country because we need better transportation, and we're not getting it from this government, and that's why you need to have some green voices out there. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hand this over to the NDP to respond.
Just as the former mayor mentioned, it's certainly a municipal and provincial issue when it comes to operational requirements, and they are the experts that know where the buses should go, where the bus stop should be, where the SkyTrain should be, but definitely the fundraising, that any kind of funding that the federal government can provide is essential, especially when it comes to capital costs, capital investment, which is basically a lot of money, like when we talk about the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain and when we talk about the extension to UBC. So we will definitely be partners with the provincial and with the municipal governments. They're the experts. We'll help them with the funding. But I just want to quickly remind you that under the Liberal government, almost $15 billion of climate funding has been unspent, or it's been delayed since 2016. Now, we're in a climate crisis. Shouldn't we be using this money for transportation?
Thank you, and we'll move now to the People's Party of Canada.
Personally, as far as transportation for the masses is concerned, some people, they cannot even afford it, right? So maybe there could be a plan for other people that cannot afford to have transit. Okay.
Thank you, Bon. Thank you.
We would like to work with the provincial government to reduce transit costs, to build more buses. Like I rely on the bus too. But I also think it's about making the community safer as well. So making the buses, the SkyTrains, the Canada Line safer for our staff, for people that are driving, and for people that's taking these transit systems every day.
Great, thank you. So we're going to move on to the theme of immigration and belonging. And we will start with the Green Party for this one to answer. Transportation, there are many, transportation, here we go. No. There are many residents in our neighborhood who came to Canada on a student visa with the promise of qualifying to apply for permanent residency after they satisfy certain criteria. Their road to permanent residency has been delayed, and some people are not able to renew their work permit, so they cannot earn a living to sustain their families while they wait. Will the candidates promise to expedite processing for these people who are contributing to our society, our neighborhoods, and our economy?
Great question. One of the problems is that the Liberal Party is listening to the Conservatives when it comes to cuts on immigration, cuts on international students, and that's why we need more Greens in the House to go the other way. The cuts on the international students is really affecting our universities. I have friends who are faculty, and their jobs are at stake. The problem is that this was not done properly in the first place. The universities and schools were not vetted properly. And now everybody's suffering, including international students. You know, we need international students, and I was one of the people who was advocating for no differential fees. They add to their economy and things like that, but it's difficult for them to come here and pay higher fees. The Green Party believes in free tuition for everybody. So let them come, let's have free tuition, post-secondary education, and let them add to the economy so we can flourish better. You know, more immigrants means a better economy, and that's what we want to advocate for. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Now we'll turn it to the NDP to respond.
This is something that Jenny Kwan, the member for Vancouver East, has certainly been working on. We do have a lot of vulnerable individuals who have arrived into Canada. I think as soon as you arrive in Canada, you're vulnerable. You don't know where to live. You need to find a place to live, obviously, and obviously you need to look for a job, among many other things. So we definitely have already in the past highlighted this issue. According to my statistics, we're talking about 2.2 million cases were stuck in delays. And that was 2 years ago. How many more since then? Quite a few, because just as a reminder, the Liberal government has just cut IRCC staffing. And do you think that's going to help? Certainly not. We need to make sure we have a robust, well-staffed public service system and certainly get those people who have been laid off back into the IRCC and start working on those caseloads as soon as possible.
Okay, we'll pass that now to the People's Party of Canada.
I'm in a platform that's helping Filipinos in Facebook, and I see a lot of problems of Filipinos who came here like as a student or a temporary foreign worker, and so they have so many problems. Like it's just like one topic in that platform, and the position of the People's Party of Canada is there should be a sustainable immigration policies. Okay.
Yeah, we encourage immigration policies that puts Canadian first, putting Canadian values first. So we do welcome newcomers, but they have to contribute, integrate, and share our values. Immigrations must be sustainable, and it has to be in our national interest. For far too long, the government has pushed mass immigration levels without controlling the impact on housing, healthcare, infrastructure, and social cohesion. So the PPC would reduce mass immigration, focusing on economic immigrants that could bring their skills and labors to our country. We'll also strengthen our borders.
Fiona. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you. And we'll wrap this question up from the Liberal Party. Thank you. With the Liberal Party.
So like I meant to say in my introduction, I am a proud second-generation Canadian, proud daughter of immigrants. I think that immigration is the backbone of our country, the fabric of our identity, and we are a very warm and welcoming country, and I would want us to keep that reputation as a country. I think that we need to manage the immigration system right now to make sure that we're welcoming people at the right pace, so that people that are already here don't feel like the housing is getting crunched, and social services and health care are also under pressure by the amount of people that we're letting in. At the same time, we also need to look at the other side of the argument and making sure that when we get people to come in, that they're also being taken care of properly, that they have the homes that they need, they have good jobs, their credentials are recognized, and they're doing things that they would have been doing back home. So I think it's a two-way street, and we just need to find some balance in the system.
Okay. Thank you. I just got a tap on the shoulder a little bit earlier that we're making good progress, so we may hop back to other themes, circle back a little bit, as they say, and come back again. But we'll just let's stick with immigration and belonging for now, though. Knowing there are so many cuts for immigration services, there is a huge impact on immigrant support. We've heard the cuts out there today, a few weeks ago that were announced. How will you ensure immigrants are well supported? How are you going to ensure social service programs are protected for the next 4 years? And we will now turn this to, we'll start with the Liberals.
What was very recently announced by the Liberal government is that the immigration levels will be reduced for the next 2025 to 2027. In the spirit, I think, is what Amy just shared, of finding some balance, making sure that we don't have too many people entering the country when we have a housing crisis, affordability challenges that we have, and also social and health services that are strained at the moment. So it's a matter of striking that balance. And again, as Amy said, making sure that immigrants who are coming to Canada have the supports that they need. So there has been some streamlining to ensure we're fit for purpose in terms of the Government of Canada having the people to support the process and the pace that we're on for these next couple of years. But I think all of us, I can't speak for all of us. I think many of us would like to see Canada be a welcoming place that is a home for many people around the world, that we can, as we always have, open our doors to especially people in need from around the world to find another place. And I think also have to address this from the perspective of Canada on the world stage, providing aid and support in countries so that people don't get pushed out of their own countries. And Canada has always been a leader in this and providing for that
Thank you,
support.
Gregor. Thank you. We'll now move on to the Green Party to respond to this question.
I was a housing search worker for refugees for quite a while, and one of the biggest problems is that the Liberal government says, let's bring in the refugees. But where are they going to stay? There is no refugee housing. There is no shelters for them. So what do we have to do? They have to live with homeless people. people with addictions and so on. So if you're going to invite all these people, refugees, to come to Canada, then you have to have funding for housing for them. Temporary housing and permanent housing as well. And that has not happened. We don't have enough funding for newcomers, whether it's refugees or otherwise, and that has not happened. So they are struggling. As you may have seen people across this country, that there are refugees sleeping in the streets or in churches even. That has to change. We need to have sustainable funding for immigration. Thank you so much. Anything else?
Anything else from the Green
The
Party?
only other
have
thing that
Sukhi
we
as
would do, well, we would do many, many other things with the Green Party, but working with and through communities like this, in this space, you know more than we do. Other areas that make Canada a great mosaic, reaching out to other communities, getting help from them. They've been here. They know the system better than a lot of people coming in. So that's what the Green Party is standing for.
Thank you, Alexander.
Also, just
We're going
remember
to Red.
that.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, Red. Okay.
Conversations afterwards, coffee, cake, all the rest of it. We'll do. And we'll pass it now down to the NDP.
Yes, I'm an immigrant here, and we welcome the more immigrant here. But take a look of the Liberals. They bring so many peoples over here, and we don't have a home for them. We got a news in the Brampton, 25 students in one basement. This is another Canada. We welcome the immigrants, but we should have their homes. They can live over there. I know so many doctors. They are working here they are driving here a taxi and Uber. We should bring the policy that we can reduce their wait time so they can practice over here as soon as they come over here. Our Canadians, they're going to the India for the surgeries and other medical medications. But here, they are driving taxi and Uber. So we should take care of the policies that we should welcome the more and more immigrants over here, but they should be skilled and proper trained. Thank you.
You have a little bit time left, yeah.
Just want to also mention that the funding that Success and other many organizations that help in integration and in having everyone feel welcomed in society needs to be replaced. That funding needs to go back to them. It isn't enough in the first place, and now we're cutting down further just because we're going to cut down on immigration. No, I don't agree with that. We need to reinstate that funding right now.
Thank you, Sukhi. And finally, to the People's Party of Canada to respond.
Before taking care of immigrants, I see a lot of people in downtown Vancouver, even in the place where I went to talk to people, homeless. We should take care of homeless people first.
So I'm an immigrant, and my colleague here is also an immigrant, right? So like I said previously, we're definitely not anti-immigrant. My father came to this country because he really stood for Western values, right, which consists of democracy, rule of law, and free speech. And 20 years later, I'm here, standing here in front of you, standing for these same values. We definitely believe in immigration, and we would like to welcome new immigrants, but they have to have the same values, the same beliefs that we hold. We would like to take Canada out of UN's Global Compact for Migration, signed by the Liberal government in 2018, which aims to make it easier for millions of people to move to Canada and other Western democracies at will. So when we do bring in immigrants, ideally we would like to have a plan for them, right? I think if you're moving to a new country, you will want a plan, you will want a place to live, you will want a good job, right? They come here for the American dream. And unfortunately now, or in Western countries, and unfortunately now there's just not a place for them.
Thank you, Fiona. Your time's up on that. Okay, so going to turn to the Greens to answer this, respond to this question. Building on a welcoming and a place for welcoming and a place for belonging in community, will you commit to pushing against the rise in anti-immigrant sentiment and ensure your party and campaign do not falsely lay blame for Canada's infrastructure deficits on immigration? I take that question to the Green Party first.
To continue, we certainly have that reputation, and I think we need to change that reputation. One of the things I wanted to say earlier is that we deported a student from Pakistan because he's a climate change activist, and this government did that. That's not welcoming. And we need to change our we have this reputation of being welcoming, but when they get here, we're not welcoming. We don't have the resources, we don't have the housing, and we don't have the supports. I'm a psychotherapist, right? And there's not enough funding for mental health for people who are trauma survivors. So we definitely need more funding, and we need to change this idea of being welcome, because it certainly isn't right now. Thank you.
You're good with that? Okay. So we'll turn that now to the NDP to respond to that question. Microphone.
As a recent immigrant, I'm pretty fed up of immigrants being used as a punching bag. And we really need to stop this political bandwagoning where we try and blame other people for the mistakes that they as a government have made. For 30 years, we've not had any social housing. Can't blame immigrants for that. You can't blame immigrants for the rising cost of affordability. They too need to buy food. They too need to go to IKEA and buy a whole new set of bathroom stuff. Don't blame the immigrants. Blame the people who have created the system, who have made your life unaffordable, and who have not continued to build the social housing that we built after the Second World War.
Over to the People's Party of Canada to respond to that.
When I arrived in Canada in 1996, I was very happy. I actually lived in a social housing right here in Marine Drive. And you know that overpass over there? Mm-hmm. I live in that housing over there. Okay, so that's a good thing. We should do more socialized housing.
Immigration should not be used to forcibly change the character of our country, right? We have our values, and when immigrants come to our country, we hope that they share our values, right? I mean, like I said, when my father came to this country, he stood for Western values, and that's why we came here in the first place. However, the Liberals and the Conservative government have supported an irresponsible and unsustainable increase in immigration levels for far too long. They have been using mass immigration as a political tool to pander for votes among immigrant communities. And the People's Party of Canada, we will always speak the truth to. We will always be honest, even if it's politically inconvenient. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. And over to the Liberal Party.
The Liberal Party does not support the rise in anti-immigrant sentiment. I think it was their policies of expanding the immigration system that led other parties to criticize it. They were in full support of it. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, thank you. I think that we need to really fight back against division and disinformation, because I don't think that's part of our Canadian values. I do think it's the issue of having immigration at the right pace and doing it the right way to not put pressure on the system so that Canadians here have the services that they need and newcomers that are coming in are also taken care of properly. It's just a balancing act.
Thank you. As promised, we're going to circle back to affordability one more time. And this is a question that's been coming a lot up for a lot of people in terms of that sustainment of being able to live in and remain in South Vancouver and other places. And the question is, how can you your party make universal basic income happen? And we're going to start with, we're going back to the Liberal Party to begin that one.
Thanks for the question. And it's certainly universal basic income is something that I know because I worked with him at the time about a decade ago. Minister Duclos from Quebec worked on, who was actually a professor that worked and wrote extensively on universal basic income, looked at and examined as a possibility for the Liberal government at the time to pursue. The recommendation was not to pursue it. Obviously, it hasn't come to pass. That government has been in place for 9 years for these past 3 terms. I think there's potential to it. We're not seeing it being applied, certainly at the scale of Canada or G20 nation. But I think there are opportunities there, and we have to think of how that might fit within the economy that we have, the society that we have. I would certainly support more pursuit of that universal basic income concept and make a made in Canada solution to it. But again, this is something we're engaging people across the country. And how would this work? How could we make this work that in a way that lifts all boats and supports people across Canada? I think there's potential and merit to it. And I would just say, in circling back in terms of affordability and support in the community, investment in places like
Gregor.
this is what counts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll pass that over now to the Green Party, please.
Well, that's been a basic platform for the Green Party for a long time. And how we can make this work is we currently have the money. We have welfare, we have employment income, we have gain for seniors and things like that. We can roll that into one program, Guaranteed Livable Income. So everybody has a basic income. So it's not sort of based on poverty and things like that. There will be a level, and if you are not making that income, you will be topped up. So people who are caregiving for their children at home, they would have a basic income. People who are caregiving for older people or people who have illness will be taken care of. Other people who are struggling with other things that will be taken care of. So we have a program. It has worked in many countries. It has a lot of support. And that's why we need to have more Greens and more Green votes so we can have the government listen to these proposals and actually make it happen.
The greatest problem we have in this country is income inequality, okay? Everything else is below that. Not the richest of the rich get the most of the money, and the people who do all the work don't. The Green Party has always believed that we have to raise the water for all boats.
Okay, thank you, Alexander. Appreciate that. Now we'll move over to the NDP to respond to this question related to universal basic income.
As I already told you that I belong to a middle class family, and people are struggling to bring the food on the table. They are skipping the meals, and they are not going to the dentist because they can't afford it. While I'm door knocking, so many people, I told you, because of the NDP policy, they're the first time they're going to the dentist in their life. And our income, our housing prices are doubled up. As of 2025, the average rent of the Canada is 2,000.
In an ideal world, I suppose if we had all the money, then universal basic income would certainly be something that should be implemented. However, we are in a time right now of uncertainty. And I think having universal basic income is something we should be walking towards, but we need some more immediate tax cuts. We need tax cuts on working families. We need tax cuts on everyday Canadians. We need to increase the tax and close the loopholes on those billionaires. And then once we get that money from those billionaires, we can start talking about maybe piloting universal basic income. But let's make the tax system a little fairer first for everybody, shall we?
Thank you. Over to the People's Party.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, we have to help more of the working class because there's also struggling just to make ends meet. Okay? The middle class, the working class, and then from here, from this position, then we can also help those who cannot afford, like the disabled, the homeless. Okay?
I think there are other factors that we can consider before looking at universal basic income. There are two ways to create wealth and prosperity in our country. You either work more, right, or you work more efficiently through increased productivity. People's government advocate for limited government, lower taxes, which means putting more money in your pocket. We want people to have the freedom, the autonomy to work how many hours they want or to not work at all, right? But when it comes to universal basic income, I just don't think there's enough data, there's really enough research to say if that's the best solution to our problem right now. We do want to encourage Canadians to save and invest more and to help smaller businesses, and I think that would be a better solution.
Great. Thank you, Fiona. We're going to switch things up a little bit and move into arts and culture. Artists and arts organizations have called for an increase to funding for arts, culture, and heritage by asking the government, the federal government, to allocate at least 1% of its overall spending to the Canada Council for the Arts and the Department of Canadian Heritage. Will you support Canadian artists and cultural workers? And I will pass that over to the Greens. Oh, Greens to respond, yep.
I don't know if this is on or not. Well, it's a shame that we don't have any of the Conservative Party here, because when I hear about the arts, we just had the Junos in here last week, and that was an amazing celebration of everybody there. And it wounds me as a Canadian to hear a party asking for the defunding of the CBC, having grown up with all the programming that they have. Yeah, thanks very much. That's really important, and it was something that I was looking forward to speak to somebody about. Like, how can you get behind that kind of a platform? The idea of additional funding for the CBC to support the arts, but with a clear mandate looking forward so that we all understand what the CBC is supposed to be doing as it goes along. That'll make things easier for both us and the CBC in supporting the arts across Canada.
I've been at the point where we've been asking for funding for arts organization, and there isn't enough. There is no funding for pride organizations or pride parades for the arts. So we need to put more money into cultural workers, artists, for arts organizations, film festivals, and so on, so we don't have to rely on those nasty banks that are funding the genocide in Palestine. We need to have the federal government come to the table and fund these arts organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now over to the NDP to respond. This question is related to arts and culture. Thank you.
When I think of art, I think of freedom of expression. When I think of art, I think of culture. I think of identity. Art is something that's embedded in society. And it does concern me that when we need to cut, we do cut the arts. It's one of those things that tend to be the voiceless, silent lamb in the room. For me, obviously, I would love to fund art. I would love to fund as much as we can towards the Art Council. But we also need to be realistic. we also need to ensure that any funding we provide does go towards providing and contributing to a heritage, a culture, a freedom of expression that us as everyday Canadians truly appreciate and value. So my top point there is we do need funding, but we need to ensure that it's targeted in the specific way that benefits all Canadians.
Thank you. Over to the People's Party of Canada to respond related to arts and culture funding for arts and culture workers.
I love arts, like I'm a fan of arts, okay? Although I am not, I'm not very good on art, but it's a beautiful thing to, like from childhood all the way to people who make it their vocation, right? It's a beautiful thing to encourage people to do art. It comes from their creativity, so we should encourage more right from the very beginning of the child. Okay.
I think arts and culture is definitely a topic that we don't hear often sometimes when it comes to politics, right? I think the artist voice are sometimes underrepresented in our communities. But I'm sure you've heard the quote, man does not live by bread alone, right? We need art, we need beauty, right? We need freedom of expression in our lives. And the People's Party definitely encourage and we also support artists in different realms of industry and area. And I believe that the art should also encourage and foster Canadian identity and also the Indigenous communities. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, to the Gregor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, from personal experience and serving at City Hall as the mayor, we basically funded arts and culture to record levels in Vancouver, and we had to do that to keep our arts and culture community alive when conservative governments, both federally and provincially, were cutting their support to the arts here in Vancouver. So we had to deal with that as a city. I think we came through that. Give credit where it's due to when the Liberal government came in 2015, arts funding increased steadily. So there was a market change, and as well with the NDP provincially. So that said, it's always a challenge to fund enough arts and culture, particularly across the whole country. I want to flag our new leader, Mark Carney's commitment to funding CBC, Radio-Canada. A very significant announcement that was made, not only in funding, $150 million increase to the budget for the year ahead, which is much needed to restore CBC to its former glory, and also to focus on a new mandate, making sure they're dealing with disinformation, which is everywhere in the world right now, also more local news support, and making sure that Canadian stories can be told. Storytellers have that platform. And taking the CBC budget out of the annual budget, making it statutory so that it's not a ping pong ball every year and CBC's at risk.
Thank you, Gregor. Thank you. So we're going to move on now from arts and culture over to acknowledging land, acknowledging Indigenous peoples, the first peoples of this land. And this is under our, as we call it, Truth and Reconciliation. We are in a time of climate crisis and reconciliation. And yet federal candidates keep talking about building more fossil fuel pipelines across Indigenous lands. What is your stance on new fossil fuel infrastructure? And if you want to build more, will you ensure a livable future and recognize Indigenous land title? And I'll turn that back again to the Liberal Party to respond first.
Yeah. So on this front, there's a couple layers to this. Obviously, first and foremost, with our Indigenous people, First Nations, Métis and Inuit people across the country, the Liberal government has recognized and adopted the UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, a critical piece of legislation. Many countries have not done this. The province of BC is now in implementation, is actually leading the world in terms of recognizing and supporting these investments, partnerships, the recognition of rights and title with Indigenous people. So that piece we have to continue advancing across Canada, absolutely without any pause. There is, I believe, a huge opportunity in terms of major projects right now, that all of the major projects, and this was announced this morning by Mark Carney, that all of the major projects need to respect the process with Indigenous people. This is not something we will see from a Conservative government, and that's a guarantee. The promises made by Polyev are just drive it through, irrespective of Indigenous or local concerns. That is not the approach that the Liberals under Mark Carney will take. That they will be respecting the rights of Indigenous people and looking at it as an opportunity to accelerate the investments in Canada's economy and major projects, starting with clean and green projects. Major projects can be accelerated with First Nations.
Thank you. Over to the Green Party now. Next up.
As I said earlier, when Donald Trump attacked this country's so-called sovereignty, all the political leaders are talking about saving Canadian sovereignty. What is Canadian sovereignty? It's Indigenous. So is Greenland, it's Inuit, and no one's talking about that. We need to work with Indigenous people. The Liberal Party has committed more pipeline funding just in the last few days, right? So this is the kind of thing we're talking about. We need, in terms of Arctic sovereignty, we have to work with the Inuit. We have to work with our deputy leader is Rainbow Eyes, and she is an Indigenous from the north. So we are committed to Indigenous sovereignty and working with Indigenous people. This response from Trump is bringing all Canadians together, but we're not including Indigenous peoples. That they have to be part of the solution about our local economies and funding and supporting Indigenous industry and sustainability, and that's where we stand. Thank you so much.
I wanted to add that the Vancouver School Board was fundamentally bringing Indigenous voices before, and I saw it because I was with the VSB, and it was great. We did have voices on the parent level that brought a lot of the ideas, even the introduction that we had this morning.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you. We'll now pass this down to the NDP and then finally to the PPC.
So first of all, I just want to make this clear. I am fully committed to making sure that we follow the actionable steps from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, all 94 steps. And I just want to give you a slight contrast here from our last government. They talk about UNDRIP, which is very important, but today there are many people, many of the Indigenous peoples of Canada who don't have access to drinking water. They don't have access to the basic human needs that we have in Vancouver. And what happens is that the government of the time, wave the carrot. And they say, hey, we can give you this, but we just need to build a pipeline right through your land. In a sense, we're pulling them in an ultimatum. We're saying, we'll help you out, but only if it's for our benefit. And that's certainly not an exchange of a relationship that is on both aspects in the same level. It's definitely one Goliath talking to a smaller David. So we need to ensure that we balance that relationship out and listen to our Indigenous stakeholders, because they have been on this land for many thousands of years and their knowledge is invaluable. It is very invaluable.
Thank you, Sukhi. Thank you. And finally to the People's Party.
I have friends who are First Nations, and they really need some help too. Okay, and anyways, that's all I can say for now.
We need concrete policy actions that meaningfully improve the lives of Indigenous people, such as improving their access to housing, clean water, education, and healthcare. While well-intentioned, the current approach to truth and reconciliation comes across as patronizing because it emphasizes on symbolic gestures rather than real practical solutions. Moreover, the current approach actually enforces a colonial power imbalance where the state assumes the role of a moral authority, dominating the nature and the discussion of reconciliation. So I think we need to listen to them. We need to hear their voices and their opinions and their suggestions, right? And we need to work together with the community to foster and to create a better country. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question turns us over to global affairs. Hot topic, as we know. And the first question is, do you support the current government's approach to dealing with Donald Trump? We'll begin with the Greens to answer that question.
Thank you. Which Donald Trump are you referring to? Because the one that happened yesterday was different than the one today. If you follow the stock market, right, there's got to be somebody being spoken to about what's going to happen tomorrow who's either shorting the market or going long the market, right? And I have a lot of experience taking two companies public on the NASDAQ to know that there are some not above the board things that can happen there. And I think the current government, the recent government is doing a much better job than the previous government at that point in time. But internalizing what it is that we do in Canada with our other partners has to be a big part of what we do as a nation.
This is something I do know a little bit about. Tariffs are like shooting yourself in the foot. The Americans can shoot themselves in the foot as much as they want. Why do we need to go so far and shoot ourselves in the foot? I know I can say this because this is my opinion, and Elizabeth allows me to speak as myself in Parliament. I'm not just following the leader and getting whipped by votes. Thank you.
Okay, just a reminder, do you support the current government's approach to dealing with Donald Trump? And we'll hand that over to the NDP now to respond.
Yes, Canadians are worried to becoming the 51st state of America. And we are united than never before. We faced them before, and we will face them one more time again. If anyone, anywhere in the Canada, they can think they can erase Canada, they are in a fight, they cannot win.
Just to add to that, I suppose I could use the words "for now." Why do I say that? Because nothing concrete has been done by the Liberal government as of yet. It's going to be these next few months, these next 2 or 3 years, where we really will find out whether we have a government that's going to stand for you, everyday Canadians, when you lose your jobs, when the cost of groceries goes sky high, and basically, who's going to be the one that's going to foot the bill? Is it going to be us? Or are we going to make sure that those who are making money from this misfortune make sure that they pay their way, especially with taxes? So we definitely need to increase EI for sure. That's one thing. We need to safeguard jobs for investments. We need to make sure that families do not bear the cost of those tariffs in the supermarket. And we need to make sure that public services don't get privatized during this time, this very difficult time, because it's so easy to sell off private companies when you need money. I've seen that in the 1980s with Margaret Thatcher, and I don't want that here.
Thank you, Sukhi. Thank you. We will turn that over to the People's Party of Canada to respond.
The People's Party of Canada will encourage Canadian businesses. We will also provide funding, and we'll also invest and encourage small businesses. We would definitely like to be independent. We do not want to be a part of the United States. And with everything in mind, and with all these policies, we definitely want to put Canadians first, right? We try to stay out of foreign affairs and foreign wars, right? Or giving millions of dollars funding Ukraine, because we have to put Canadians first. We have to put Canadian values first, and we have to help the people here instead of looking elsewhere, right?
Okay. We will end with the Liberal Party to respond.
So the Liberal Party has been dealing with President Trump since he's been in place since January, and I think they've made it emphatically clear that we will never be the 51st state. Under Prime Minister Carney, we have somebody who is a very serious, experienced leader. He's somebody who's already led our country through a global financial crisis where we did better than a lot of our counterparts. He's led the UK through Brexit, where they were able to navigate that situation better than they would have, and we're told what the risks of going through Brexit were going to be. And I think he's the right leader to lead us through this time right now. There's already been work done. Reciprocal tariffs have already been in place. There's been a lot of bounce back, as everybody's seen in the news. But, you know, we're fighting back. We're also doing what we can to protect our own economy. We're eliminating interprovincial trade barriers, which hasn't been done ever and has been talked about forever and will have a huge boost in our economy. We're trying to keep our production in Canada. We're trying to protect our workers. We're trying to diversify our global trading partners. So a lot of work has been done. Mark Carney has a very serious plan. I don't think that you could say the same for Pierre Poilievre, because you haven't heard that from him.
Okay, we're going to stick with foreign affairs. Just one other question. It's been a flood of questions, so I will do my utmost to wrap it into one question. We've received a lot of questions from community members about the Palestinians in Gaza. The big question that we can frame all of these questions under is, what actionable steps will you take to end the genocide in Gaza? And we will start. I want to make sure that this is we receive questions from the residents, and so this is the question that we were asking, and we will see and. Where is Israelis being attacked other than Israel? Well, you can't just go one side. You have to have both parties. Resident, excuse me. Let's be respectful here, please. Thank you. I want to start with the Liberal Party of Canada to respond.
Well, this has been an incredibly difficult time, obviously, in Israel and Palestine, and for the rest of the world, watching in horror at the devastation there. So there have been actions taken, most recently by Canada, to ensure that Canada is supporting the ceasefire, a return to the ceasefire, and restoration of humanitarian aid. That's the first piece that obviously needs to happen there. There must be a significant uptick in the humanitarian aid to address the challenges on the ground and the devastation on the ground. There's rebuilding the viable path to a lasting peace in the Middle East. We can't underestimate the challenges of that, but it is a two-state solution where both states can live in peace and security. That's the big goal here, but we're a long way from that, obviously, in these times. The government has suspended all arms export permits. That was obviously a critical step to ensure that arms that could be used in Gaza were not being exported from Canada, and that decision stands. As well, that focus on the two-state solution and Canada playing a role as a peacemaker.
Okay, thank you, Gregor. Thank you very much. The time's up on that one. We'll pass that down to the Green Party, over to the Green Party, rather.
Elizabeth May was one of the first MPs to stand up against the anti-terror legislation in this country. And that's why one of the reasons I joined the Green Party is because she spoke the truth. And because the anti-terror legislation is used against Muslims. It's an Islamophobic piece of legislation that this government introduced. Now, this legislation is now being used most recently against activists in the streets fighting for Gaza. And because these people have been called terrorists and they've been named under this anti-terror act. So our freedoms have been attacked by this government. So we need to change that, and we need to have our liberties and so on. Yes, we want global peace, sustainability. This is what the Green Party believes in. But we believe in peace and security. And this idea that Israel believes in two-state solution, it's a fallacy because it's always been about occupation of Palestine, just as this is occupation of these lands here, or Greenland or others. So we're against these kind of occupations, and we want freedom and liberty for everyone. Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay, so we'll pass that now to the NDP to respond.
I wish I had 2 hours to talk about this. There's a lot to talk about, and to be honest, 1 minute isn't enough. First and foremost, my heart goes out to every single human being in Israel and in Palestine. Really do. There are no winners. There are no true winners on either side of the conflict. Some are suffering more than others, I agree. And I just want to tell you now who I stand with and which flag I will wave. I clearly stand firmly with humanity. I fly the flag of peace, and that's the only flag that I'm going to fly. And I'll tell you now, I want to make sure that we ensure that we can create a peaceful two-state solution in Palestine and ensure that both Palestinians and Israelis have governments that truly do respond and truly do work for their people and ensure that peace comes about. But this has been a conflict for so long. And when people take sides, all you're doing is this vicious cycle. You're not making peace. And I've seen this because I've got friends in Northern Ireland. The only way peace came about is when Madeleine Albright came with both communities, not with the IRA.
Thank you, Sukhi. Thank you. Okay. Just, we realize this is a really stressful time for a lot of people. And I just want to understand there's a lot of passions about this. It can be very polarizing. But let's just be mindful that we are in community now. And in this house, we do our utmost to be respectful and to consider all the different perspectives, the nuances of this difficult time that we're all in, and it locally and globally as well. And so I'll hand it over to the People's Party of Canada now to respond to this question.
I'm very much supportive of the plan of President Trump, because what happened is President Trump, on his first term, he established the Abraham Accord to put peace in the Middle East. But when the other party came, they took out the Abraham Accord. Now they're putting in the Abraham Accord again. And that will bring peace to the Middle East and Israel.
Okay. Any additional?
We will also like to say that we would like to bring peace to the Middle East, and I think that's what we all want. However, the PPC stands on is that when it comes to foreign aid especially, should be drastically reduced. We should not be sending billions of taxpayers' money, dollars overseas, while our Canadians are struggling at home. Foreign policy should serve Canadians' interests first, not globalist agendas or virtue signaling. We believe in a strong, sovereign Canada free to make its own decisions without being dictated by the UN or the WEF.
Okay, thank you. So we have about 10 more minutes left. We have one final question, but it's very important because it brings us back to land, to the environment. Polling consistently shows that protecting and restoring BC's watersheds is a top priority for British Columbians, yet despite repeated calls, federal investment in the BC Watershed Security Fund has been lacking. How will you ensure the federal government listens to the people of BC and commits to meaningful investment in this critical fund to safeguard the health and sustainability of our watersheds for future generations? And so we ended with the People's Party of Canada on this one. I'm going to actually ask you to respond to this one first.
I used to work with the Department of Environment in the Philippines, natural resources, and I'm 100% for the preservation of our natural resources right here in Canada, and it has to be a sustainable plan for the use of natural resources here in Canada.
Okay, you're good? Okay, so we will now move to the NDP to respond.
Why are we still giving big subsidies to fossil fuel companies? Why don't we divert those subsidies to clean energy? And also to, for example, projects like the BC watershed. It would only make more sense to divert that money into causes that actually improve the environment and not degrade it. Having worked, and I still do, I'm just on leave of absence, for a very renowned environmental charity, which I can't tell you who that is, I speak to a very well-renowned person every Thursday, and he reminds me how important the climate is. And from a government perspective, we need to ensure that subsidies go to the right companies, not to the big polluters. And at the end of the day, why do they need subsidies if oil is such a big profit-making industry in the first place? Probably it's not, right? Why are there abandoned wells in Alberta? Why is the government having to foot the bill for these abandoned wells? It just doesn't make sense to me. So let's try and make sure that we invest in a clean future. And with that investment, with these subsidies being diverted into clean energy, we can also consider these projects as well at the same time, with provincial funding on top of federal funding, because it is definitely a two-way thing when it comes to specific projects with provinces.
Okay, thank you, Sukhi. We'll hand that over to the Green Party now to respond.
Well, we are the Green Party. We pretty much invented it. I follow Elizabeth May's lead on this. We have our policies. We've got so many policies. I cannot describe them in 1 minute. Go to the website, find out the dates that we actually implemented these things, and how much we have really not appreciated the federal government from basically stepping on the toes of the people of BC. So I'll turn it over to the government to have an explanation after my friend here speaks a bit about this.
Our watersheds are very much at risk. The terrorist is our temporary crisis, but the global climate crisis is a crisis that we may not be able to survive, and that's why we need more green voices in Parliament. Right now the government is listening to the Conservative Party on all kinds of issues like cutting the gas tax, the carbon gas tax. Well, and now the provincial government has cut the federal gas tax, and they're cutting funding for sustainable housing because of that. That's why we need to have more Greens, more Green votes in the House, and that's why you should vote Green this time. Thank you.
Over to the Liberal Party. Yep.
I think everybody in BC knows that climate change is not a distant threat. just with all of the climate-related disasters that we've been dealing with here. And I think that having a prime minister like Mark Carney being the United Nations Special Envoy for Climate and Finance, you know that investments that he's going to be making in the future will take into account the environment, which is critical. He's already made announcements, including over the weekend, for BC historic investments to protect our parks. We have investments of about $1 billion to help families retrofit their homes, and we're creating tens of thousands of jobs by investing in a clean economy. So this is something the Liberal Party takes very seriously, and I'll let you say it too.
Yeah, maybe just to add, I've worked since being at City Hall. I've worked representing 13,000 mayors around the world on climate and the energy transition at the UN table, and seen Mark Carney in action. That's part of the reason I jumped into this when he reached out and asked me to join the team. And there are many of us across the country that are new to joining the Liberals, and because we see the leadership of Mark Carney and the opportunity to really evolve our approach on climate and environment, and making sure that we make really good choices. We protect our water. Today, or yesterday, was announced a $100 million water security fund. There's big opportunity for us to step up, take it to the next level.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to our closing remarks tonight, I just want to remind you about the slide that popped up much earlier in the night, this evening at the very beginning, related to immigration being a critical issue in South Vancouver. And so we have a very short question, and we know that we have only a short period of time left, but it's an important one. What's your party's immigration plan? Full stop. What's your party's immigration plan? And we're going to start with the Liberal Party on that one to respond.
Okay, I described some of this. So there's already been action taken to reduce immigration levels for 25 to 27, these next couple of years, in recognition of the pressure on housing and all of the public services that we rely on as Canadians. So I put that in the context of the challenges that we had with the prior Conservative government and very low immigration levels compared to what we've had in the past decade. The Liberals did open the doors to many people to come here, and I think many of us as Canadians were proud of the initiative that got Syrian refugees landed in Canada and an opportunity to restart their lives. No doubt we can do more. We did some great work here in Vancouver with Immigrant Services Society of BC and many other organizations like the neighborhood houses here who provide critical services for new immigrants. And that support needs to increase. I think there's a commitment from the Liberal Party that was in the fall economic statement. It didn't go through. Now we're into election, but a commitment to increase the funding here for the neighborhood house and make sure there is more support. We have to increase the support for new immigrants. For the time being, we've got to reduce the level and make sure that we can, as many have pointed out here, we have to make sure the supports are better for those coming and keep it in balance for all of us who are already here. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregor. Over to the Green Party to respond, please.
The Greens believe in a sustainable immigration plan. You know, we are one of the largest countries in the world with one of the smallest populations in the world, so we have a lot of mass. So we want immigration, but we want it to be sustainable. That means we need to have enough supports and services when they arrive here, which is I talked about earlier, the fact that we have refugees, but we have no refugee housing. We don't have support services for them. So we need to have sustainable immigration so that they can add to the economy and they can be productive members of our society. And that's the theme of the Green Party, is the sustainability. And we need immigrants, and we need to work together so we can preserve our ecology, our economy, and our way of life. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. We will now move to the NDP to respond.
Immigration has always been a net positive for Canada. It's what made Canada great. It really is. The problem is that we've had lots of issues, underlying underbelly issues that have risen to the surface because there are more and more immigrants coming into Canada. Let's not blame the immigrants. Let's sort out the housing issues that haven't been sorted out for the last 30 years. Let's break down the competition with the grocery chains, make sure everyone can afford food. And also, let's ensure that we reinstate funding back to Success, back to ISS, back to these very important institutions that ensure that every person that comes here can feel like a Canadian and become a Canadian just like me. We really need to focus on development, and the only way we can do that is to increase our immigration aspect, but we need to catch up with all of the support services. So we need to invest in that, and we need to stop using immigrants for cheap labor. And that's what the last successive governments have done. They brought in specific categories of immigrants just for cheap labor. We need fair paying jobs for all Canadians. But instead, there's too much focus on the economy, and that's my biggest concern about Carney. He's going to be too focused on money first. So electing someone who have the focus and making sure that everyday Canadians are represented is very important.
Thank you, Sukhi. Okay, now we'll end with the People's Party of Canada to respond.
I came here in 1996 as an immigrant, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but people at the time are able to make, like, you can go to any kind of work and still make a sustainable living. But here, right now, at this moment in time, there are a lot of people who are not able to make it. Okay, so there has to be an immigration plan that is sustainable, that people who come here are able to support themselves, there is work, and it's not straining the immigration system. Right now, it's upside down.
This is a topic that our leader Maxime Bernier have been talking about for a very long time. So I encourage all of you to go online and look at some of his speeches and debates about the topic. But basically, our party, the People's Party of Canada, we want immigration policies that put Canada and put Canadians first. We will drastically lower the number of temporary foreign workers and make sure that they only fulfill temporary jobs and do not compete with Canadian workers.
Thank you. Okay. I realize we're very tight on time now. All of a sudden, time came upon us and hit us in the, anyways, on the backside. So I know that we had allocated 1 minute each of you to do a reverse order, a closing remark piece. Are we okay to stay? Are we okay to stay, everyone? We're okay. We're engaged. Engaged South Vancouver. I love it. So we're going to go from if we look at the candidates here, 1 minute for a closing remark. We're going to begin with Gregor Robertson, as he was the last one to start. So we're going in reverse order from beginning. So Gregor Robertson.
Reverse order from the opening statements? Okay.
Yes.
Well, again, a huge thank you to South Van Neighbourhood House and the team that put this together and has hosted us here. And all of you for coming. I think, and I just want to point out that how disappointing it is, and this is happening across the country, that Conservative candidates are not showing up for any of these debates in community. And I think that's, to flag this biggest concern that I have right now is that Pierre Poilievre, who has been leading in the polls by a long shot for several years now, who is deeply aligned with Donald Trump and the Republicans and MAGA North, there's a very real chance that they are the next government of Canada. That's the primary threat that we face right now that we have to address. I think there's lots of great shared ideas in this room, on this table. First and foremost, we have to win. preventive conservatives from. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander, pass it over.
Thank you, Gregor, for bringing up the boogeyman. Yeah, this is a great time for the Greens because there is no boogeyman. Bring a Green in this particular riding. The only thing that you have going to get is that I will be in power, Elizabeth will be in power. Basically, there won't be a majority, so we, the Greens, in that will have the deciding how we do, and Elizabeth will be able to go ahead and say, you know what, you have some good ideas, but the NDP does as well. So let's balance these out and make it as green as possible. Proportional representation is what we're behind as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Over to Manoj.
Thank you to my fellow candidates and everyone watching and engaging in this important conversation. We believe in the NDP. NDP believe in the country where no one should be left behind. Everyone has a place to live in, a doctor and dentist to see, not worried about the bills. But big corporations and ultra CEO pay their fair share. I'm here not to make empty promises. I'm here to work alongside with you to bring the real change that we need it, because people are tired of politics that serve the powerful. It's the time for the politics to serve the peoples. If you believe in a more equal, more caring, and more hopeful Canada, I'm asking your support. Let's build the future where every voice is heard and every individual is valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. Over to you, Imtiaz.
Well, you know, there was a minority government and the NDP had an opportunity to insist proportional representation of supporting that government, and it failed. And unfortunately, that would have been our great opportunity, because what proportional representation, democratic reform does is allows us to work together. We have a lot of great ideas that we can actually work together rather than splitting the vote. So this is why we need to, and if it wasn't for the Green Party, a lot of the issues that we're talking about today, we will not be talking about. This is why it's important to vote Green, because we want these ideas, guaranteed living income, proportional representation, sustainability, and a better way of living. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry, over to you.
Is it on? Good. Thank you, Jonathan. That's really good. Thanks to all the other candidates that were here today as well. And thanks all to you. You could have been doing anything, but here you are. And I appreciate it because my team is spending a lot of time here to get the Green banner out there, and having you all pay attention like this makes it rewarding for all of us. We feel like we're getting something done. The idea, again, of environmental literacy, we only have one chance to get it right. When all the tariff stuff has gone away, we have to live on this planet. So I'd like you to consider thoroughly voting Green, because you only get one chance at it.
Thank you. Pass it over to Amy.
Thank you. So just as a reminder for everybody, I am the Liberal candidate for Vancouver Kingsway, and I have been out knocking on doors, and the number one thing I hear from voters is they have a very big concern over what's going on with the threats to our economy and the threats to our sovereignty. So I think that we really need to elect a serious leader, an experienced leader in Mark Carney. And the other thing is, I also still hear people talk a lot about affordability and cost of living being a key issue. And the Liberal Party has announced a lot of measures that would help alleviate both of these issues. So I would really suggest you guys look into those as well. And for myself, I think I would be somebody that could be a strong advocate for the people of Vancouver Kingsway at the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Fiona.
Thank you all for being here today and for making this possible. This election isn't just about electing the next member of parliament. This election is about thinking about what you want in terms of the future for our country, for our children, and for the next generations. The People's Party of Canada stands for something different. We don't pander. We don't tell lies. We don't hold empty promises. We tell the truth, even if it's politically inconvenient. Because we believe the Canadians deserve honesty, integrity, and common sense leadership. I'm not a career politician. I'm one of you, someone who's sick and tired of all the waste, of all the fear, and all the division. And I want to bring your voice forward. So a vote for the People's Party is a vote for courage over comfort, for truth over politics, and for real Canadian values. So on April 28th, let's elect a government that works for you.
Thank you, Fiona. Over to you, Bong.
Thank you. I think this is a very good chance for Canadians to decide for themselves who are they going to support, themselves or the globalist. Like the relationship between US and Canada is very close. Relationship-wise, economically-wise, in almost every aspect of the lives of Canadians and Americans, we are very close. We are related. We cannot afford to alienate ourselves with the Americans. So I think it's time for Canadians to have a government that will work with the Trump administration.
Thank you, Bong. And finally to Sukhi Sahota.
First of all, I want to thank you for hosting us. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here to listen to us. And by the way, I'm a very firm proponent for proportional representation. That's why I joined the NDP myself. And I think in this time and age, it's very important that we all stick together as everyday Canadians, right? Because we have a very, very valid threat south of the border. And I think politicians, regardless of what party you belong to, we all need to work together. So you've seen our values, you've seen our platforms, and I really encourage you to look at us as individuals. Look at our hearts. Who else is going to help? Who else is going to be the right person for you to make sure that it's your voice in Ottawa that gets listened to? That's your voice that's going to determine what happens next. And it's your voice that matters the most.
Sukhi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sukhi. Thank you to each and every single one of you. I am going to now pass it over back to the board, our board chair, to keep us something in line.
We dance around the mic. Okay. First off, where do we begin? I have a list of many thank yous. Thank you. Sorry. It's just me. I think it's fine. Sorry. Okay. I just have a list of thank yous. So a huge thank you to Jonathan and Jennifer for their help in moderation and timekeeping. A thank you. And a thank you to the candidates for their engagement tonight. And I'm sure hopefully it was edifying and interesting. And again, thank you to Jonathan for his moderation at this rather challenging time. And a thank you to all of you for attending, because as it's already been called out, it's really incumbent upon us to show up and to be engaged, because truly, your voice matters, and your voice and your vote will help shape the future of South Vancouver. So thank you all very much for taking the time to show up and engage with those who seek to represent you in the next election. So before we, I'm sorry, and of course the very important people from South Vancouver Neighbourhood House who are hosting us and who organized this event, in particular Lisa and her team, and the photographers who are documenting this, Melissa and Stephanie, and the videographer, Raylene. Thank you all very much for making this possible and for recording it for our reference. And before leaving, we invite you to stay, connect, and continue the conversations. We hope that you will take this opportunity to speak one-on-one with the candidates about what matters most to you. And thank you again for joining us tonight, and have a wonderful evening.
You thanked Cherry too, did you?
It's Cherry. Cherry. Cherry.
She got her up here. She got us all up here.
Sorry, before we go, I just quickly want to just give one more round of applause for our wonderful moderator, Jonathan and Jennifer, and also our amazing MC, Nanette. We just have some small gifts for you and for your time. Thank you. All right, I guess we'll close off. Yeah. Thank you for coming.